Howdy, everyone, and I'm Zach, and this is a podcast about women's basketball, the only place bringing you daily news on women's basketball from the WNBA and from college. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Follow us on YouTube as well as Twitter and Instagram. You can do that at TIPAWBB. I hope you're all having a great day, getting ready for the weekend. I today am pretty exhausted. I stayed up till about 1-ish watching the Big Brother live feeds. So Big Brother started this week, and I am all in right now. A complete feedster. But you're here for basketball, so let's get into it. We're going to review our game to catch on Wednesday first today. So my game I told you guys to watch was the Wings versus the Storm. So in this game on Wednesday, the Wings get a win against the Storm, 76-65. Arike opened up the game with 5 points and then a deep three. Ezi Magbagor had a beautiful reverse layup with her offhand to tie it in the first, and I about lost my mind on that one. The way she was just able to dribble through the post and then have that reverse, it was gorgeous. If you can find that, I would go back and watch it. One thing I noticed while watching this game was the commentator was pointing out Sammy Whitcomb's landing on her shot because she kind of does like a spring landing onto one foot, which is definitely not what is taught, but it looks pretty cool. And she's a bucket from three anyway, so she can land however she wants, to be honest. But yeah, looking at this game specifically, Dallas had a pretty easy time scoring inside during the first half especially, and Arike was hot from three. She hit them at a clip of 42%, 5 for 12 from three, on top of Satu Sabli's 18 points, 9 rebounds, Natasha Howard's 12 rebounds. It was about a 10-point game the whole time. It never seemed like Seattle could really muster up a run to try and take over and take that lead, but Dallas gets a pretty good win, or a pretty easy win, and it's helps them stay in fourth place in the standings. They're kind of in a battle right now with, the Mystics, who are falling, Atlanta, who's kind of falling, and they're staying in that fourth spot, which is where they need to be. I can't remember what I was reading earlier this week, but it was something from Her Hoop Stats. But it was talking about Dallas, and an interesting note that they pointed out was that Dallas has a net rating of 16.2 when Tierra McCowan is on the floor, and then -4 when she sits. So they absolutely need Tierra McCowan on the floor. And the last thing I wanted to point out from this game was, again, Ezi Magbagor had a soul-crushing block on Tierra McCowan that never happens. Tierra McCowan doesn't get blocked. So the fact that even happened at all was pretty cool to see. So yes, that was the Wings versus the Storm. Now let's get into a little bit of news, and then I'll bring you the rest of the show. Alrighty. So one thing I need to figure out what's going on is, are the Mercury just completely pretending like Skylar Diggins-Smith does not exist? Who knows? So I believe yesterday or 2 days ago now, it was Skylar Diggins-Smith's birthday. And she is a player for the Phoenix Mercury. Last year, yes, they did have a little bit of a, a dust up with the coach, and just things said, or I guess things technically not said by the coach, and then things said on Twitter by the player. But now it seems, since Skylar Diggins-Smith is on maternity leave, they have just completely forgotten about her existence. They did not wish her a happy birthday. And then from this, Skylar Diggins-Smith just absolutely had a tweet storm. And I'll just read you a few of what she said. So, at Truly Arabo on Twitter said, "How disgraceful is it that the Phoenix Mercury handle couldn't even pretend to wish Skylar Diggins a happy birthday?" And Skylar Diggins-Smith quote tweeted this and said, "They're not going to acknowledge me this year, and it's okay, guys. We're not affiliated unless it's the checks per management. I can't even use the practice facility or any resources, but I still love the X Factor," which is the Mercury, is what they call their fans. Yeah, so she can't use practice facility, can't use any resources, even though she's pregnant and still on the team. And then she goes even deeper. Matt Ellentuck, at Mellentuck on Twitter, I'm sure a lot of people know him. Skylar Diggins-Smith says she can't use the Mercury's practice facility with a bunch of question marks and exclamation points. And she comes back and says, sadly, no, or any massage therapists, chiropractors, chefs, strength and conditioning coaches, nutritionists, nothing. Every other player has access to this except her. But she is down 48 pounds on her own and feeling great, so that's good to see. And then she kind of wrapped everything up with this bow on it. She said that it was all good when I was leaving for personal time. That's according to Skylar Diggins-Smith about the Mercury front office. But when I'm leaving because I'm having complications and scared of risking my child while leading the league in minutes while being pregnant, they want to trade her. So I think Skylar Diggins-Smith has a point here. Obviously, Phoenix, I don't know what we're doing, why we're just treating players like they don't exist. But if this is what we're going to do, just get her out. Trade her somewhere. There's plenty of places, including this one, that would absolutely love to have her. So get her out of there. All right, and then staying in Phoenix, but slightly more fun news. Last night, Diana Taurasi made history. She scored 10,000 points. She is the first player to do it in WNBA history and is about 2,500 points in front of second place Tina Thompson. So this just only adds to her accolades. This is crazy. She, over her career, has scored 19.2 points per game, which is third among players with at least 200 appearances. She owns the records for most field goals made, most three-pointers made, and for most free throws made. And she's done all of this with quite possibly the weirdest shot I've ever seen in my life. So ESPN wrote an article up about this. This is what this is all coming from. It was breaking down Diana Taurasi's 10,000 point shot by Josh Weinfuss. Hope I pronounced that right. But she apparently, I didn't even realize this, points her feet slightly to the left instead of straight on to the basket. And then when she loads the ball from a catch, so either she's catching it from a pass or from a dribble, she loads it down here at like her hip and her belt, and then brings it up in a way so that she aligns her elbow with where the basket is and then shoots it. Instead of keeping her elbow straight like everyone's taught, does it different. It's a crazy shot. Last night watching her shoot, I actually got to pay attention to it and see it, and I said, yeah, I see how that's weird, and now I don't understand how she leads everything in scoring, but she does, and she's done it with that shot. So shout out to, I would say, the GOAT right now, Diana Taurasi. 10K, such an amazing accomplishment. All the flowers to you. She did this last night by scoring 42 points. She only needed 18. And then on top of that, the game plan was very obviously just feed Diana Taurasi because she was the only double-digit scorer in their win last night against the Dream? Yes, against the Dream. Alrighty. Now, moving on to player and team of the week. So our team of the week for this week, we talked about them earlier. We're going to talk about them again. The Dallas Wings. This is basically because they're doing everything exactly the way that they need to right now. This week, they beat the Mystics, they lost to the Aces, and then beat the Storm. Why is this impressive enough to get them team of the week? Because they started this week at number 4 in the standings. They beat 2 teams under them in the standings, and the Mystics and the Storm. One of them only being 2.5 games behind them. And then they lose to the Aces, but so does everyone else. So a really good week for the Wings. they're getting closer to having a lot of hype around them for the playoffs. This is a team that has plenty of potential to be dangerous. You've got Satu Sabali getting all the buckets or boards she wants. Tierra McCowan is a terrifying presence in the paint, but can also score over almost anyone. Natasha Howard has been lighting it up all year, and then we already know what Arike Egumbawale can do. This team should be scary to you in the playoffs. The only team that maybe shouldn't be scared of any team is the Aces, but the Wings are one of their losses, so who knows? On top of all this, the Wings get 12.2 offensive rebounds per game, which is so above league average. I need to go see what second place is for the stat, but I know that they are a pretty good chunk in front of them. So the next best team in second place are the Indiana Fever for offensive rebounds. And like I said, the Wings get 12.2 offensive rebounds a game. The Fever get 9.1. The lowest on this, which I guess surprising, but then when you think about how many shots they're making, it's not. The Las Vegas Aces only get 6 offensive rebounds a game. But then you look at their 50% field goal percentage and you see why. Wow, that team is wild. So yeah, the Wings are my team of the week. Let's move on to player of the week. There's a lot that can be said about this player, but she absolutely deserves player of the week and a whole round of applause. Kayla McBride. Not only does she step up and help the Lynx beat the Liberty and the Sun, who are the second and third best teams in the league, again, without Nafisa Collier, but she did this and set them on fire. And what I mean by that is that she basically burned them at the stake. Here's what she did. Against the Liberty, she scored 26 points. She did this on 79% field goal shooting. Her effective field goal percentage, which let me explain what that is. So effective field goal percentage accounts for field goals being worth different points. So this stat tells you the player's percentage while also taking into account the shots they made worth 3 points. So you get that by multiplying 0.5 by how many threes the player made, add that number to the amount of field goals made, and then divide that number by the field goals attempted. And that is going to give you your effective field goal per shooting. That is going to give you your effective field goal shooting. There we go. Got it out. So her normal was 79%. Her effective was 93%. Then you look at her game against the Sun. She scored 19 points, again on 70% shooting. And then her effective field goal percentage was 90%. An absolutely unbelievable 2 games from Kayla McBride. I don't think I've ever seen anyone shoot that well in one game, let alone 2, basically back to back. Such a great week for Kayla McBride. The Lynx they're winning games. They're close games, but they're getting them wins. They are staying in the driver's seat right now for being in the playoffs. They just really need to get Nafisa Collier back and really see if they can make a run at it. Okay, our last segment of the day, games of the weekend. So I'm going to give you 2 this week. Here we go. Number 1, first off tonight, 8 o'clock on Ion. We've got the Sky versus the Wings. It's just a kind of a Wings-themed episode, ladies and gentlemen. We just talked about the Wings, so we're not going to talk about them anymore. But the Sky, on the other hand, they are in 8th place, which is the last playoff spot. And Los Angeles are only 2.5 games behind them in 9th. So the Sky need to win as many games as they can because they they're in the playoffs now, but if they continue to lose, and especially if the teams under them continue to win, they can still get in the playoffs. The worst teams in the league right now still have a chance to make the playoffs. There's a path for the Fever, which is shocking. There's a path for the Mercury. So these teams can make it, especially if the Sky keep losing. But we'll see if the Sky can avoid that tonight against the Wings. Again, that is tonight, 8 o'clock on Ion. Now here's your second game of the weekend. If you don't know what this is, then you might want to check your pulse. Liberty versus the Aces. Sunday, 3 o'clock, ABC. You couldn't ask for a better matchup. The Aces won game one in a pretty dominant fashion. This was a month ago. The Aces are basically the same team that they were last year. And the Liberty were basically a brand new team still learning how to play with one another. And I would say now they've pretty much learned how to play with one another. They're still trying to figure some things out. I know Jonquil Jones is still trying to find exactly what her fit is with this team, but she's starting to gain momentum. Stewie's going to score and get rebounds and does everything that she does every night. And then you have Sabrina Ionescu, who is also shooting lights out right now since the All-Star break and getting as many points as she wants. So you have a team here that is starting to find its way, starting to learn how to play together. And they're at a good spot right now where they could put up a fight against the Aces. I don't know how it's going to go Sunday. I am so excited to see MVP frontrunner, apparently, Breanna Stewart versus MVP runner-up right now, Asia Wilson. Should be flipped. I won't get into that again. Go watch last week's episode if you want to hear about that. This is going to be a good one. Asia versus Stewie is going to be fun to watch. Kelsey Plum versus Sabrina is going to be fun to watch. I can't wait. Again, Liberty versus Aces, Sunday, 3 o'clock, ABC. Make sure that you are tuned in for that one especially. All right. Well, that is all I got for you today. Before I let you go, though, I do want to say that I am changing up the schedule a tiny bit. The only thing I'm going to do is get rid of the Wednesday show. First of all, the league doesn't really play games on Mondays. Tuesdays, there are some games, but I don't think it's enough news cycle really to have a whole show for it. So we're just going to cut that one completely. What we're going to do instead is for the Monday and Friday shows, I'm going to give you 2 games of the week, both episodes, so that you can watch, and then we'll recap them on the next episode like normal. I'm going to do my best to make sure that those 2 games are on different days or at least different times, but that's the plan. So from now on, 1 episode on Monday to start your week, and we'll get a peek at the action that's happening throughout the week. And then on Friday, you'll get another episode. We'll review the 2 games from the Monday episode. I'll give you 2 new ones, and I'll get you ready for the weekend. I think that's all I got here at This is a podcast about women's basketball. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being you. I'm Zach. See you next week.